In the quiet town of Shelby, North Carolina, the night of February 13, 2000, faded into Valentine's Day like any other. The Degree family had just celebrated a normal Sunday. 9-year-old Asha Degree, a smart, shy, and well-behaved fourth grader, had gone to bed after attending church and doing her homework. Her parents, Harold and Akila Degree, had no reason to believe anything was wrong. The door was locked. Her older brother slept in the same room, but by 6:30 a.m., everything changed. Asha's bed was empty, her school clothes were gone, so was her backpack. But there was no forced entry, no broken windows. It was like she had vanished into thin air. The panic was immediate. Her mother called out her name over and over, but the house offered no answer. Their little girl was missing on Valentine's Day, also their wedding anniversary. That morning, Shelby's peace was broken forever. If you feel the weight of this story, if you believe this child deserves answers, tap subscribe. We're unraveling the full mystery behind Asha Degree's disappearance, and you won't want to miss what's coming. What happened next only deepened the mystery. Police were called immediately, and within hours, search teams were on the ground. But as investigators canvassed the area, strange reports began to emerge. Several drivers claimed they saw a young black girl walking along Highway 18, roughly 4 miles from the Degree home. It was just before dawn, around 4 a.m. Witnesses said the girl matched Asha's description and was walking alone, in the rain, on a rural highway. One driver was so concerned he turned his car around to check on her, but she darted into the woods. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. The question that haunted everyone: why would a 9-year-old leave her warm bed in the middle of the night during a storm? Was she meeting someone? Was she tricked? Did she run from something? No one had answers, but one thing was clear: something had lured her from her home, and whatever it was, it didn't come from inside the house. For the Degree family, those first few days were pure agony. Harold, Akila, and their son O'Brien clung to hope as hundreds of volunteers scoured fields, creeks, and abandoned buildings. Flyers went up across Cleveland County. The local news stations covered the story relentlessly. Asha's face, sweet and innocent, stared out from every television screen, yet no new clues emerged. Law enforcement used search dogs, infrared helicopters, and interviews with neighbors, but the trail had gone cold. Asha was a girl who avoided strangers, who feared dogs, who never even walked to the mailbox by herself. For her to walk out alone in the dark made no sense. Her family was left shattered, grappling with grief, confusion, and a growing fear that the worst had happened. The town of Shelby wrapped its arms around them, but nothing could fill the silence Asha left behind. Then, in August 2001, 18 months later, a breakthrough. A construction worker discovered a black book bag buried along the edge of the woods in Burke County, about 20 miles from where Asha was last seen. It was wrapped tightly in plastic and buried in the dirt, as if someone wanted it hidden forever. When investigators opened the bag, their worst fears were confirmed. It belonged to Asha. Inside were her school supplies and clothing, including an undershirt known to be hers. The discovery was chilling. It suggested someone had taken Asha far from home, someone who didn't want her belongings to ever be found. The spot was remote, and no one could explain how a 9-year-old girl could have ended up there alone. But just like that, the case was no longer a disappearance. It was the beginning of a deeper, darker mystery, one that would take decades to piece together. The backpack raised more questions than answers. Years passed, and still, Asha's fate remained unknown. But in 2024, nearly 24 years after she vanished, science finally caught up with the case. Authorities tested Asha's undershirt using modern DNA techniques unavailable in 2000. What they found changed everything. A strand of hair embedded in the fabric didn't belong to Asha, but to someone related by blood to not one, but 2 persons of interest. This new evidence breathed life back into the investigation. Detectives began focusing on a family in southwestern North Carolina. It wasn't enough to press charges, but it was a lead, one backed by science. After decades of pain and silence, the Degree family's nightmare had a pulse again. Someone out there knew what happened to Asha, and now, investigators had their scent. Then came a second shock. In September 2024, at a house party in a quiet neighborhood, a man casually told a chilling story. "I killed Asha Degree," he said, as if it were nothing. Another guest overheard it and went to the authorities. It was the break police had prayed for. That statement, along with the DNA evidence, gave detectives the justification to request court-ordered search warrants. They seized cell phones, a vehicle, and digital evidence from the suspects. The man who allegedly confessed hasn't been publicly named, but the weight of his words hangs over the case like a thundercloud. Was it a drunken lie, a sick joke, or the truth finally slipping through the cracks of a guilty conscience? Investigators aren't saying, but they are moving, quietly and swiftly. As the 25th anniversary of Asha's disappearance approached in 2025, Cleveland County Sheriff Alan Norman made a vow that shook the community. In a public statement, he said, "We're closer than we've ever been to solving this. With today's technology, we believe we can finally bring Asha home." That promise lit a fire in Shelby. Detectives posted video updates. The FBI's Charlotte field office joined forces, offering resources and forensic experts. In total, up to $45,000 in rewards was offered for information. But for the Degree family, the reward wasn't about money. It was about closure, about knowing what happened to their daughter, about ending the 25 years of sleepless nights. Sheriff Norman's words weren't just for the press. They were a message to whoever was responsible. You will be found. It's only a matter of time. Even after all these years, Shelby hasn't forgotten Asha. Pink ribbons line fences every February. Community prayer walks fill the streets with candles, songs, and tearful embraces. Everyone from teachers to childhood classmates still remembers her smile. Chief Deputy Derwin Briscoe, who knew the Degree family personally, has carried the case with him his entire career. "This one never left my heart," he said. "Shelby is not a big town. Everyone knows everyone, and everyone knew Asha. Her disappearance wasn't just a family tragedy, it was a communal wound. 25 years later, that wound still aches, but the community remains united by one thing: hope. Hope that Asha might still be alive. Hope that justice will finally arrive. Hope that her story will not be forgotten." No one has carried that hope more fiercely than Asha's mother, Ikila. Through all the interviews, the vigils, the birthdays spent without her daughter, she has never lost faith. "Until somebody proves me wrong," she said in 2025, "I will keep believing Asha is alive." It's not blind optimism, it's the unbreakable resolve of a mother. She imagines Asha grown up now, maybe living under a new name, maybe still waiting to be rescued. She prays every night for a miracle. While others prepare for the worst, Ikila holds on to the best outcome possible. In her heart, Asha is still out there, waiting. Her faith is unshakable, her voice unwavering. She is the light in this long, dark tunnel. Today, the case of Asha Degree is far from cold. With new evidence, a potential confession, and ongoing forensic work, investigators believe they are closer than ever before. The suspect's name remains under seal, but search warrants are active. The FBI and local law enforcement have their eyes on the finish line. But until an arrest is made, until charges are filed, the community waits in suspended breath. The porch light at the Degree home is still on. The prayer walks still continue. And a little girl's face still lives in the hearts of millions who followed her story for 2.5 decades. One day soon, the truth may finally be known. One day soon, Shelby's sweetheart may come home.